During my younger sister Skylar's wedding reception, I handed her a folder containing the title deed to a condominium that I had completely paid off for her. The condo was worth $450,000. I had spent months researching it. I checked the neighborhood statistics, the building finances, security ratings, long-term investment potential, everything. I didn't choose it carelessly. I chose it because it was stable, beautiful, safe, and fully paid for. In my mind, I wasn't just giving my sister property. I was giving her peace of mind. I was giving her a future. But the second she opened the folder and saw the address, everything changed. She stared at the paper for maybe 2 seconds before suddenly bursting into laughter, not nervous laughter. Not shocked laughter, cruel laughter, the kind that cuts directly through your chest, and the worst part was that she still had the microphone in her hand. In front of around 180 wedding guests, my sister leaned her head back and laughed so loudly the entire reception hall went silent. Then she smiled sweetly and said into the microphone, "Nicole, this isn't the neighborhood I asked for." People started turning toward me immediately. She shook her head dramatically, still laughing. "I'm sorry, but I cannot live there. That area completely ruins my image." And just like that, several guests started laughing too. I can still remember the sound of it, glasses clinking. Music softly playing in the background, people trying not to choke on their champagne while laughing at me. I just sat there frozen, not embarrassed, not even angry at first. Honestly, I think I was in shock, because while everyone else in that room thought they were watching a funny little family moment, I realized something horrifying in that exact second. I had spent years funding a person who genuinely believed she was too good for a $500,000 gift. You need to understand something about me. My name is Nicole. I'm 37 years old and I work as an M&A lawyer, mergers and acquisitions. My entire life revolves around contracts, negotiations, financial structures, and damage control. I work on the 50th floor of a glass high-rise where people only call me when millions of dollars are at risk. I work over 100 hours a week sometimes. Most nights my coffee is cold before I even remember to drink it. My job requires perfection. One missed detail can destroy an entire deal. I am the person companies hire when situations become messy, the fixer, the responsible one, the dependable one. Meanwhile, my sister Skylar is 29 years old and calls herself a wellness influencer. Her entire existence is basically curated for social media, expensive coffee shops, yoga retreats, luxury skincare routines, videos about authenticity filmed in rented outfits and borrowed lifestyles. My parents always described her as creative and sensitive, but what they really meant was this: Skylar was never expected to survive in the real world. Other people were expected to carry her. Mostly me. As the laughter slowly died down at the wedding, I quietly sat back in my chair. The scraping sound against the wooden floor felt painfully loud. I remember staring down at my water glass while reality slowly settled over me. I had gifted her security. She rejected it because it didn't match her aesthetic. And the terrifying thing was, this wasn't even spontaneous. This entire dynamic had existed for years. The wedding guests didn't understand that. Her husband Ashton definitely didn't understand it either. He spent most of the reception staring awkwardly at his shoes while his new wife publicly mocked the person paying for half her life. Because that's what I was, not a sister, an investor, a silent financial institution disguised as family. For 5 straight years, I had personally financed the entire Skylar brand, and unlike most people, I document everything. That's how my brain works. Exhibit A. The luxury high-rise apartment she'd been living in for the past 3 years. Monthly rent, $3,800. Paid automatically through transfers from my account every single month because Skylar once cried to me saying she needed a better filming background for sponsorship opportunities. Exhibit B. The white Tesla Model X parked outside the wedding venue. She called me sobbing one night because she claimed driving a normal sedan damaged her wellness image. I paid the down payment. The financing stayed under my name because her credit was terrible. Still is. Exhibit C. Thousands and thousands of dollars in business expenses, content workshops, photography packages, branding consultations, trips to Costa Rica, luxury retreats she insisted were necessary for networking. I paid for all of it, every last cent. You're probably wondering why I allowed this for so long. Honestly, because I was conditioned to. My mother built the system carefully when we were children. At family dinners, she would smile warmly at me and say things like, "Nicole is our rock." She's so responsible. Then she'd turn to Skylar with this soft expression and say, and Skylar is our sensitive artist. It sounds harmless until you grow up and realize those labels become cages. My responsibility became obligation. Skylar's sensitivity became immunity from consequences. I was taught my value came from sacrifice, from productivity, from paying. Skylar's value came from existing, and if I ever resisted financially supporting her, suddenly I was selfish. Cold, jealous, difficult. Supporting my sister wasn't treated as generosity. It was treated as my duty. So when she laughed at that condo in front of nearly 200 people, something inside me finally cracked. The wedding speeches blurred together after that. The steak tasted dry. People danced while I sat there quietly drinking ice water and wearing the same expression I used during hostile corporate negotiations. At work, people call it my M&A face. It's the expression I make right before dismantling someone legally. Calm, cold, final. Eventually, I stood up quietly and started walking toward the exit. I didn't want a scene. I almost made it out. Then I heard her voice behind me, Nicole. I turned around slowly. Skylar was standing near the dessert table with frosting smeared on one wrist. She didn't look embarrassed. She looked furious. What was the point of that? She snapped under her breath. Were you trying to humiliate me at my own wedding? I stared at her for a second, genuinely speechless. It was a gift, Skylar. A gift, she repeated loudly. That neighborhood is awful. It doesn't fit my brand at all. Did you even think about my audience, Ashton's clients? The lighting in those units is terrible for filming. The lighting, that's what mattered to her, not the fact that someone had handed her a paid-off luxury property. The lighting. Then she looked me dead in the eyes and said something I will never forget. You're jealous of me. I actually blinked. She continued talking, voice rising louder and louder. You hate your boring corporate life, so you wanted to ruin my moment. You always do this. Everything has to be about you. Before I could answer, my mother appeared beside us. Perfect pearls. Perfect smile, perfectly rehearsed manipulation. She grabbed my arm tightly enough for her nails to press into my skin. Nicole, sweetheart, she said in that sugary voice that always sounded polite to outsiders, don't make this difficult. I tried pulling my arm away. I'm leaving, Mom. Her smile never moved. But her grip tightened and then her real voice came out, low, sharp, threatening. You absolutely will not, she whispered through clenched teeth while still smiling for nearby guests. Then she leaned closer. Listen carefully, Nicole. We all have our roles in this family. You are the strong one. Your sister needs support right now for her career and her future. Your father and I can't help her financially. You know that. Then she said the sentence that changed everything for me. Stop being selfish just because your feelings are hurt. That sentence hit me harder than Skylar's public humiliation ever could, because suddenly I understood the truth. I was never viewed as a daughter. I was infrastructure, a provider, a backup funding source, an emotional support bank account, and my mother wasn't simply allowing the behavior. She had engineered it for decades. In that moment, every ounce of guilt I carried disappeared completely. I looked at my mother's face, and for the first time in my life, I stopped seeing her as a parent. I saw her exactly the way I see corrupt executives across negotiation tables. Someone protecting a system that benefits them. My expression changed completely. The M&A smile disappeared. This was just my real face now, emotionless. Done. I turned slowly toward Skylar. My voice was calm enough to make both of them uncomfortable. Skylar, I said quietly, I need the keys to the Tesla, right now. The anger on her face instantly flickered into confusion. What? The vehicle is financed under my name. Hand me the keys. She stared at me like she genuinely thought I was joking. Nicole, stop being dramatic. But I wasn't being dramatic anymore. I was simply finished. This is my wedding day. Skylar's voice shook with rage as she stared at me in the middle of the reception hall. The keys, I said calmly, not loudly, not emotionally. Just clearly, it wasn't a request. Around us, the music was still playing softly. Guests were pretending not to stare. And waiters awkwardly moved between tables carrying champagne glasses while my entire family dynamic collapsed in real time. Skylar looked at me like she genuinely couldn't believe what she was hearing. Nicole, stop this. The loan agreement is under my name, I continued flatly. The insurance policy is mine. The registration is under my name. Legally, it is my vehicle. I'll arrange for a flatbed tow truck to pick it up Monday morning, but I want the keys tonight. My mother suddenly exploded beside us. You absolutely will not do this. Her voice cracked through the ballroom so sharply that even nearby conversations stopped. You are not going to shame this family. That sentence. That exact sentence. After everything that had happened that night, that was somehow still her concern, not the humiliation, not the years of manipulation. Not the fact that her younger daughter had publicly mocked a $450,000 gift. No, the problem was me finally refusing to fund it anymore. I slowly turned my head toward my mother. "I'm not the one embarrassing this family," I said quietly. "You two already handled that." For the first time all evening, neither of them had a response ready. Then I looked past them toward the valet stand outside the massive glass doors and lifted my hand toward the attendant. That was the moment Skylar understood this was real. The performance stopped instantly. The influencer disappeared. The entitled younger sister disappeared. Now she looked terrified. Because for the first time in years, she was no longer talking to her sponsor. She was talking to the person legally attached to every luxury item she owned. Her face crumpled. With shaking hands, she opened her tiny decorative wedding clutch and dug through it frantically before slamming the Tesla key fob into my palm. "You're horrible," she whispered, tears filling her eyes, and honestly, maybe those tears were real, but by then I felt absolutely nothing. "No," I replied calmly as I closed my fingers around the keys. "I'm just direct, and unlike you, I keep documentation." Then I walked away. I didn't storm out dramatically. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I simply turned and walked across the polished ballroom floor while 180 guests watched in complete silence. My heels echoed with every step. Click, click, click. I stepped out into the cold night air holding two things, a Tesla key in one hand, and the title to a fully paid $450,000 condo in the other. By 7:00 the next morning, I was sitting in my home office drinking coffee, hot coffee. For once, I actually had time to drink it while it was still warm. And somehow, after everything that happened, it tasted better than anything I'd had in years, because my emotions were gone now. This was no longer family drama, this was business. And I handle business for a living. My M&A brain had completely taken over. At work, when companies become liabilities, we divest. We cut losses cleanly, efficiently, without emotion. That morning, I formally began removing a financially destructive asset from my life. Step 1, 7:01 a.m. I emailed my attorney. Subject line, repayment demand, Skylar. Attached to the email was a detailed financial breakdown I had been quietly maintaining for years. Tesla payments, insurance records, rent transfers, business seminars, travel expenses. Photography packages, every dollar I had ever spent supporting my sister's fake lifestyle. I instructed him to draft an immediate repayment demand. Step 2, 7:03 a.m. I logged into my banking app and found the recurring transfer labeled temporary support, $3,800 monthly. I stared at it for a second before clicking cancel. A tiny confirmation window appeared. "Are you sure you want to cancel this recurring payment?" I actually smiled. Then I clicked yes. Step 3, 7:05 a.m. I called my insurance agent and removed Skylar as an authorized driver. Then I removed the Tesla from active coverage and marked it pending sale. Step 4, 7:07 a.m. The final cleanup. Passwords. Streaming accounts, apartment gate codes, shopping accounts, shared subscriptions, phone plan access, every single shared point between us disappeared within minutes. By 7:10 it was done. Completely done, I leaned back in my chair and took another sip of coffee, still hot, still peaceful, and for the first time in years I realized what freedom actually tasted like. But the truth is, my decision that morning wasn't emotional revenge, it was evidence-based, because after I got home from the wedding that night, something happened that changed everything. I had just showered. I was exhausted down to my bones, not physically, emotionally. The silence in my apartment felt deafening after hours of fake smiles and humiliation. Then I noticed an envelope pushed under my front door, plain white, no return address, just my name written on the front in handwriting I immediately recognized. Ashton, Skylar's new husband. I opened it slowly. Inside was a handwritten note and several printed screenshots. The note read, "Nicole, this is from me alone. I swear I didn't know about the rent, the Tesla, or any of it. She told me you occasionally helped her. I found these on her phone while she was showering tonight. I'm sorry for what happened at the wedding." I honestly don't know what to do. My stomach tightened immediately. I set the note aside and unfolded the screenshots. The moment I saw them, my entire body went cold. It was a screenshot of a shared iPhone note. The title was Nicole's Budget. At the top were two shared users, Skylar and my mother, Patricia. My hands started shaking as I kept reading. This wasn't a discussion of past expenses, this was future planning, an actual financial roadmap for exploiting me. Q4 brand investment, ask Nicole for $15,000. G-Wagon upgrade after Tesla trade-in, Nicole covers remaining $30,000. Down payment for real house after selling cheap condo, $75,000. I remember sitting down slowly at my kitchen counter because I genuinely felt dizzy. Not hurt, not sad, furious, cold furious. This wasn't entitlement anymore, this was organized manipulation. A long-term strategy, and my mother wasn't some innocent bystander trying to keep peace in the family. She was actively helping manage the operation. I looked at those screenshots for a long time. Then something strange happened. All the guilt disappeared, completely. The guilt of saying no, the guilt of disappointing them, the guilt of not being the strong one. Gone. Because suddenly I understood something very clearly. I wasn't abandoning my family. I was escaping a financial scam disguised as love. That night I slept for 6 uninterrupted hours. And when I woke up at 7:00 a.m., I didn't feel heartbroken anymore. I felt focused, like a lawyer terminating a terrible contract. By 8:00 a.m., my phone was exploding. The muted family group chat had turned into complete chaos. "Skylar, are you serious? You canceled my lease, our trip is tomorrow, you're ruining my life." Then my aunt joined in. "Nicole, your mother is devastated, how can you be this cruel?" Then Skylar again. "You stole my car, I'm calling the police." I sat there quietly watching the messages flood in. Manufactured panic. Manufactured outrage, nobody asking if I was okay, nobody apologizing. They were only upset because the funding stopped. I didn't defend myself, I didn't argue. I simply uploaded the screenshot of Nicole's budget into the family chat. No caption, no explanation, nothing else. The silence afterward was immediate, absolute. Not a single message came through for almost 5 minutes. Then my office line rang, not my cell, my direct office line. Classic power move from my mother, I answered calmly. "Nicole speaking, what have you done?" my mother screamed, not crying, not emotional, angry. I leaned back in my chair. "Good morning, Mom. You humiliated your sister, you took her car. You canceled her apartment, your aunt is calling me nonstop." "I didn't do anything," I said calmly. "I simply stopped paying for things." Her breathing became uneven, then came the tears. Her oldest strategy, "Nicole, honey, please, we're family, you know how Skylar is, she's sensitive, creative, you can't do this to her." I let her talk, then finally I interrupted quietly. "I saw the note, Mom." Silence, heavy silence. "The shared budget note," I continued. "The G-Wagon plan, the $75,000 house payment. The Q4 investment request." I could actually hear her panic through the phone. Then I said something I don't think I'll ever forget. M&A lawyers fail when they become emotionally attached to bad deals. I won't make that mistake anymore. "Nicole, please, I'm not your emergency fund anymore." Then I ended the call. Not dramatically, just one quiet click. And honestly, that tiny sound felt more peaceful than therapy. It's been 4 weeks now, the family group chat never recovered. I assumed they made another one without me. That's fine, I never sold the condo. Instead, I rented it below market price to the daughter of one of my law partners. She's a surgical resident. Her fiancé is finishing medical school. They work brutal 36-hour shifts and needed somewhere quiet and stable to live. A few nights ago, she sent me a photo of the sunset from the balcony with a message saying, "This place changed our lives, thank you." I stared at that message for a long time. Because that condo finally ended up with someone who valued security instead of appearances. The Tesla still sits in my garage. I drive it occasionally just to keep the battery active. The inside used to smell strongly like Skylar's expensive perfume. Now it mostly smells like leather and clean air. Her presence is fading from it little by little. Honestly, that feels symbolic somehow. And no, I didn't delete the Nicole's budget file. Lawyers keep evidence. I simply renamed the folder Lessons Learned, then archived it. Right now, it's 7:00 a.m. on a Sunday morning. I'm standing on my balcony holding a cup of coffee while the city slowly wakes up beneath me. Nobody is calling asking for money. Nobody is demanding emotional labor. Nobody is draining me. For the first time in years, my coffee is still hot when I drink it. I close my eyes and feel sunlight on my face. And the strangest thing is, the weight I carried for most of my life is simply gone. If you've ever been the responsible one in your family, the fixer, the provider, the person expected to carry everyone else while nobody carried you, I hope you remember this. Sometimes saying no isn't cruel. Sometimes it's the first honest thing you've ever done for yourself.